All right. Hello, everybody. It's time for another stream. Today I'm going to be doing stenography practice. Oh, first I need to go live on YouTube. I almost forgot. Whoa!
Cloth_man just redeemed hydrate.
Thanks for redeeming hydrate. Oh, I forgot to fill up my water bottle again. How are you doing today? How am I? I'm doing pretty good. I had some energy today, so I got a lot of stuff done that I needed to get done. I'm participating in at least 3 raid trains next month. So I was setting things up for one of them. It's great that it's been pretty good for you today. Put this up. Okay, it's enabled. Playing 100 line? Cool. I did, it's important, this is important. I created a survey for everyone to complete regarding what game I should play next. You can choose however many games you want. It's all from my Steam library. It's a exclamation point survey. I'm trying to get as many answers as possible just because right now it's at 4 respondents. So it's like all the way down. 4 games are currently tied for first place. So I need a lot more respondents. Thank you if you actually fill it out. Okay, and now it's time for steno practice.
Welcome to the 160 drill class. We're going to start out with a common word drill. Ready? Next, love, copy, use, hear, being, every, night, back, soon, however, because, until, price, better, today, believe, such, course, present, think, old, feel, information, best, note, amount, check, yet, many, never, put, great, possible, cannot, man, shipment, right, advise, company, enclose, since, down, than, receipt, long, car, tomorrow, winter, sick, side, mean, direct.
Oh, I did it. Okay. That was really fast.
Common
Let me put the volume up.
phrases. Some you may be able to phrase on your machine, but some you may not. But common phrases that you hear. Ready? Which you would, who would, you would, years ago. Yes, ma'am. Yes or no. Yes, sir. You
Thank
are. You are the. You believe so. You believed. You can. You cannot. You could. You feel. You have been. You have believed. You have had. You recall. You recalled. You recollect. You recollected. You remember. You remembered.
You just found the
you
leap
should.
machine? Cool.
You think. You want. You wanted. You were. You would. Thank you. What you. When you. Whether you. Which you. Your Honor. Yours truly. Yours very truly. Sincerely yours. And just as a little reminder here, yes or no is Y-E-R-N, yearn. Yes, ma'am, Y-E-M.
Or no.
Thank you is T-U. Your Honor, Y-U-R-N. You probably know those, but just I'd like to throw it out there just in case. Okay, I'm going to give you names and their spellings.
Names and spellings.
So stitching using your asterisk key. Ready? Audrey Pearson, Pierson. John Dominguez, Dominguez. Luis Nakamoto, Nakamoto. Robert Mitchell, Mitchell. Clarence Sethall, Southall. Velma Lacefield, Lacefield. Maurice Ordway, Ordway. Joseph Morris, Morris. Raymond Hewitt, Hewitt. Claudia Hodges, Hodges. Barbara Samuel, Samuel. Ernest Parker, Parker. All right, moving right into consonant compound words.
That was really difficult.
Okay, here we go. Ready? Blush, broke, scar, shown, drill, swift, blown, gloom, froze, glare, class, grind, gross, quack, flower, white, twist, stake, drone, broad, close, swear, snake, spike, snare, flake, friend, thrill, flight, plane, snooze, proud, smoke, glance, flag, flint, sheen, cloud, bliss, flint, spare, quill. All right, so I've got some sentences using Friday. These are basic briefs that you learned in theory. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Question that think, they wrote, write. Okay, here are your sentences. Ready? What are you doing Saturday night? I think they can finish by Friday. I wrote him on Sunday. I think I will order a chocolate sundae. Robert says he is writing a book. Give written notice. Do they have to work on Saturdays? His handwriting is practically ineligible. They spend their Sundays watching football on television. It is really a hard question to answer. It is a question of time. I am questioning your choice. They wrote that they will be here Friday. Put it in writing. The questions were hard. We need it in a written form. They questioned the wisdom of that kind of writing. Were you thinking of another question? Who wrote David Copperfield? Charles Dickens wrote David Copperfield. There is a man named Friday in Robinson Crusoe. The Saturday night program has been postponed for a week. That is a good plan.
Whoop!
All right.
So fast.
Here are some Tangle Tamers.
Not these.
Ready? Flexible expenses, accumulated indebtedness, malnourishment evident, penniless elderly, political corruption, boomerang transition, sensational abduction, eliminates maintenance, lobbyist demonstrations, Vietnamese community, triumphantly crossing, despite paralysis, lying unconscious, section toilet, parquet flooring. All right. I know there's a little bit more on the challenging side.
I don't even know how to write Vietnamese, but let me at least get some of it. Accumulate. Okay. Accumulate. I had it. Wait. I see. Malnourishment, penniless, elderly, boomerang. Couldn't even think. Boomerang. Okay. Vietnamese. I don't know how to write that. I almost had it. I had half of it. Vietnamese. Vietnamese. Okay. Section toilet. Okay. I see. Alright.
It's great practice. Okay, so consonant compounds, and these are in actual sentences. So it's going to focus on initial SP, initial TR, final FG. Okay, ready? Try to spell the word spiffy. Did you speak about the special circumstances? He spoke to his spouse on Friday. The spoon had a spot. The sponge will absorb the spill. Jay spent a lot of money on the space in the mall. Put the trash under the tree. The trap door was near the tramway. Was the train on the trolley tracks? The troops were put up in trailers. The truck has no trunk. Try to tell us the truth. The roofing contractors are driving me nuts. Ron is depriving her the right to make a living. Are you leaving and moving to Minnesota? The business is thriving and she's saving her money. Her diving career is over. He is living, although barely surviving. All right. Got some silent W words and silent, let's see. Yeah, silent W words, and then it goes into WH words, okay? So we have whole, wrap, wrist, who, wreck, wrath, rung, rest, wren, and then we've got WH words. Ready? Wheel, wine, wheat, whistle, while, wit, whack, whale, wet, wham, whip, woe, wheeze, whim, white. Here are your sentences. Well, after she wrapped her car around the light pole, she climbed out. While she was still wringing her hands, the wrecker showed up. The whole front end was caved in, and they had to wrest the car from beneath the pole. I didn't give one whit about the car. I just wanted to be sure her wrist wasn't broken. It took quite a whack on the steering wheel, and she really turned white. Okay, I'm going to end with a paragraph.
All right.
And we'll end this drill class with a paragraph. Here we go. John wasn't aware that he hadn't received the information on time. The company wasn't checking on the mail properly and didn't know that it hadn't been sent out on time. Can't you do anything to hurry things up? John couldn't help it because he wasn't informed. The company shouldn't have been upset about it. John hasn't been remiss before. I can't help but feel he shouldn't be blamed. I haven't been to New Mexico and am looking forward to our vacation. I don't see why we can't leave for our trip today. I know Robert didn't get the car repaired and Susan hasn't packed, but we don't have anything else we haven't done. I won't take the big suitcase because there wouldn't be room for it. The first leg of the trip won't take more than half a day, but I think that it will be noon before we can get started. I hope that nothing occurs that will make it even later before we have a chance to go. Did you remember to tell the Johnsons that we were going to be gone for 2 weeks? Okay, and that concludes our 160 drill class. Have a great day.
Okay, let me like the video. That's my way of ensuring that I don't do the same videos twice. I like the videos. Sometimes that little red line underneath the video thumbnail isn't enough.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 160 Literary and Jury Charge. We're going to start off today with some Latin and French words, and I will give you...
Oh, she's doing Latin and French at 160 words per minute. Hold up. Okay, I need to get my phone out. I need to be prepared to look up some of these words. But sometimes she doesn't pronounce them right.
Clough_man just redeemed Pat My Head.
Thank you for redeeming Pat My Head. Okay, Latin and French at 160.
The words and then read the paragraph, and then we'll go back. I'll give you the word again and spell it so you can put it in your dictionary at a later time. Okay, so first we have mandamus. Then we've got guardian ad litem, mens rea, and carpe diem. All right, so here is your paragraph. Ready?
Okay, she definitely pronounced carpe diem incorrectly. Okay, mens rea. It's just a one dictionary entry, just one dictionary entry for mens rea. Carpe diem. Sometimes she doesn't pronounce them in the way that I expect her to pronounce them. Carpe diem. Let's see if that's just one entry too. Yes, it is. Carpe diem. There. Carpe diem. That is not the way that I want to write that. Okay, well, that is the way that it is in the dictionary, so... Mens rea again. Carpe diem. Guardian ad litem. Mandamus.
A guardian ad litem is a person designated.
Oh shit, she's reading the paragraph.
And carpe diem.
Okay.
All right, so here is your paragraph. Ready? A guardian ad litem is a person designated by the court to conduct litigation on behalf of another. A guardian ad litem usually represents a minor. Mandamus means to command. A writ of mandamus is issued by a higher court, commanding specific action by a lower court. Mens rea is sometimes described as the guilty mind. When a person has criminal intent, he has mens rea. A guardian ad litem is normally appointed for the duration of the trial. A writ of mandamus may be issued to a non-judicial official. Carpe diem means to take advantage of today and place no trust in the future. Carpe diem literally means to seize the day. Okay, so let me say these again and I'll spell them for you. So we have guardian ad litem, Guardian space AD space LITEM. Mandamus, MANDAMUS. Mens rea, MENS space REA. And carpe diem, CARPE space DIEM. I'm sure you've heard of those in your legal class, but It's always great practice, and if you don't have those already in your dictionary, you want to be sure and put those in so they show up when you come across that word. Okay, so I've got a selection here from Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. This is called Life is a Test. It is only a test.
Hey, let's see how much I can get down this time. Don't
Ready?
sweat the small stuff.
One of my favorite posters says, "Life is a test. It is only a test." Had this been a real life, you would have been instructed where to go and what to do. Whenever I think of this humorous bit of wisdom, it reminds me not to take my life so seriously. When you look at life and its many challenges as a test or series of tests, you begin to see each issue you face as an opportunity to grow, a chance to roll with the punches. Whether you're being bombarded with problems, responsibilities, even insurmountable hurdles, when looking or looked at as a test, you always have a chance to succeed in the sense of rising above that which is challenging you. If, on the other hand, you see each new issue you face as a serious battle that must be won in order to survive, you're probably in for a very rocky journey. The only time you're likely to be happy is when everything is working out just right. And we all know how often that happens. As an experiment, see if you can apply this idea to something you are forced to deal with. Perhaps you have a difficult teenager or a demanding boss. See if you can redefine the issue you face from being a problem to being a test. Rather than struggling with your issue, see if there is something you can learn from it. Ask yourself, why is this issue in my life? What would it mean, and what would be involved to rise above it? Could I possibly look at this issue any differently? Can I see it as a test of some kind? If you give this strategy a try, you may be surprised at your changed responses. For example, I used to struggle a great deal over the issue of my perception of not having enough time. I would rush around trying to get everything done. I blamed my schedule, my family, my circumstances, and anything else I could think of for my plight. Then it dawned on me, if I wanted to be happy, my goal didn't necessarily have to be to organize my life perfectly so that I had more time, but rather to see whether I could get to the point where I felt it was okay that I couldn't get everything done that I must, or that I felt I must. In other words, my real challenge was to see my struggle as a test. Seeing this issue as a test ultimately helped me to cope with one of my one of my biggest personal frustrations. I still struggle now and then about my perceived lack of time, but less than I used to. It has become far more acceptable to me to accept things as they are. I love this little book. This is from Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and it's all small stuff. Simple ways to keep the little things from taking over your life.
I'm not a fan of this book.
Books. Okay. I'm going to read some jury instructions to you.
Jury instructions. Repetitive shit. Let's go.
Here we go. Ready? This will be at 160. Right.
160. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, before the trial begins, there are certain instructions you should better have to understand your functions as a juror and how you should conduct yourself during the trial. Your duty is to decide the case based only on the evidence presented and the law given to you by the court. Do not let any personal feelings of bias or prejudice against any such things as race, religion, sex, or age affect your deliberations. Do not begin your deliberations and discussion of the case until all the evidence is presented and I have instructed you on the law. Do not discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else until your final deliberations in the jury room. We will stop or recess from time to time during the trial. You may be excused from the courtroom when it is necessary for me to hear
Oh, come on. From time to time. I thought I memorized this. Come on. From time to time. Let me look it up. Oh, it's EU. Recess from time to time.
legal stop or recess from time to time during the trial. You may be excused from the courtroom when it is necessary for me to hear legal arguments from the lawyers. If you come in contact with the parties, lawyers, or witnesses, do not speak with them. For their part, the parties, lawyers, and witnesses will not contact or speak with the jurors. Should you be exposed to any reports or communications from any source concerning the case during the trial, you should report that information to the jury bailiff. The court is aware that many of you have been exposed to publicity concerning this case before you were selected to serve as a juror. Each of you has committed to base your verdict only on the evidence introduced during the trial. It is of vital importance to the parties and the sanctity of the court process that you remain true to this commitment. Anything you may see or hear outside the courtroom is not evidence. You are to decide the case solely on the evidence offered and received at trial. Evidence is, first, the sworn testimony of witnesses, both on direct and cross-examination, regardless of who called the witness. Second, the exhibits the court has received. And third, any facts to which the lawyers have agreed or stipulated, or which the court has directed you to find. Attorneys for each side have the right and the duty to object to what they consider are improper questions asked of witnesses and to the admission of other evidence which they believe is not properly admissible. You should not draw any conclusions from the fact that an objection was made. By allowing testimony or other evidence to be received over the objection of counsel, the court is not indicating any opinion about the evidence. You, jurors, are the judges of the credibility of the witnesses and the weight of the evidence. You are not required to, but you may take notes during the trial, except during the opening statements and closing arguments. The court will provide you with materials. In taking notes, you must be careful that it does not distract you from carefully listening to and observing the witnesses. You may rely on your notes to refresh your memory during deliberations. Otherwise, keep them confidential. Your notes will be collected by the jury bailiff after each day's session and kept in a secure place until the next day of trial. After the trial, the notes will be collected and destroyed. You will not have a copy of the written transcript of the trial testimony available for use during your deliberations. You may ask to have specific portions of the testimony read to you. You should pay careful attention to all the testimony because you must rely primarily on your memory of the evidence and testimony introduced during the trial. To assist you in evaluating the evidence, I will now read to you portions of the specific jury instructions for the offenses with which the defendant is charged. I will read them to you in their entirety at the close of the evidence. Count 1. Count 1 of the information charges the defendant with first-degree intentional homicide as party to the crime. Section 939.05 of the Wisconsin Criminal Code provide that whoever is concerned in the commission of a crime is a party to that crime and may be convicted of that crime, although that person did not directly commit it. The state contends that the defendant was concerned in the commission of the crime of first-degree intentional homicide by either directly committing it or by intentionally aiding and abetting the person who directly committed it. If a person intentionally aids and abets the commission of a crime, then that person is guilty of the crime as well as the person who directly committed it. A person intentionally aids and abets the commission of a crime when acting with knowledge or belief that another person is committing or intends to commit a crime. He knowingly either assists the person who commits the crime or is ready and willing to assist, and the person who commits the crime knows of the willingness to assist. To intentionally aid and abet the crime of first-degree intentional homicide, the defendant must know that another person is committing or intends to commit the crime of first-degree intentional homicide and have the purpose to assist the commission of that crime. Before you may find the defendant guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as a party to the crime, the state must prove by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant directly committed the crime of first-degree intentional homicide or intentionally aided and abetted the commission of that crime. All 12 jurors do not have to agree on whether the defendant directly committed the crime of first-degree intentional homicide or aided and abetted the commission of the crime. However, each juror must be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant was concerned in the commission of the crime in one of those ways. Okay, so we'll stop there.
Jesus, how long was that? It was
I have a few briefs I want to give you that we came across when I was reading Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. That's either written two different ways, either YARD, Y-A-R-D, which means if you use that you have to flag YARD, or you can write it as Y, final R-D, and leave out the A. That comes up quite a bit, Beyond a Reasonable Doubt, so you probably want to learn that.
Weight of the evidence.
Phrase if you don't use it. And let's see. Oh, I like to phrase all the. That comes up quite a bit. All the. I write that as A-U-L-T. From time to time came up. F-R-I-M-T. Cross-examination. K-R-O-B-G-S. Verdict. V-E-R-D. Bailiff. B-L-I-F. Bliff.
Eight.
Those are the ones that I saw as I was reading. Okay. All right. Moving right into fun facts. This is called a random origin, and this is on curves. Okay, the gym curves. Here we go. Ready? Gary Heaven ran a chain of gyms in Texas in the 1970s, but it went bankrupt. A few years later, Heaven started over, but this time he decided to focus on a different market. Women in their 40s and 50s had told him that they didn't like gyms because they were intimidating, filled with ogling men and younger women who were already fit. So in 1992, Mr. Heaven and his wife Diane opened the first Curves for Women in Harlingen, Texas. Only women could join, and it offered only one fitness plan, created by Heaven. A customer rotates around exercise stations, such as a treadmill, bike, stretches, weights, etc., switching out every 30 seconds. 3 circuits of all the stations total a 30-minute workout. Today, there are more than 10,000 Curve locations. Interesting fact. Again, I did say the phrase all the, So there you go. You can write that as A-U-L-T. And then if I ever have the word alt, I just use A-L-T. Anything that starts with alt, like alternator or anything like that. Okay, moving right along. Got some medical for you. This is on bypass surgery after 80.
I'm trying to find my words per minute meter. Where is it? Oh. Right there. For some reason I didn't see it.
All right, here we go. Ready? Coronary artery bypass graft, known as CABG surgery, is often not considered for elderly people with coronary disease because of their risk for serious complications. However, there may be few or no alternatives to CABG for patients whose angina symptoms cannot be controlled with medications. Even though the risks of CABG are high in the elderly, the outlook may be even worse if surgery is not performed. Researchers at Duke University, a major cardiac surgery center, recently reviewed the outcomes of all 86 patients aged 80 through 93 years who underwent CABG there from 2009 to 2011. Most of these operations were performed upon people who were desperately ill. 27% had had a heart attack in the last month, and 84% had angina at rest or during only mild activity. The majority of the patients were taken directly to the operating room from the coronary care unit or cardiac catheterization laboratory because they were too unstable to wait for CABG to be performed electively. These data indicated that most of these procedures were undertaken as a last resort measure. Serious complications occurred in 29% of the patients, and 14% died during the hospitalization. In contrast, the mortality from CABG surgery in younger patients is under 2% at many medical centers. However, 86% of these very elderly patients survived the surgery and quality of life improved dramatically. In general, these patients were too sick to be at home before surgery, but 66 or 89% of the 74 survivors went directly home from the hospital, while the other 8 survivors went to nursing facilities. Those at home were able to care for most of their own personal needs. Women were more likely than men to survive the operation and to have good outcomes. Interesting facts there. All right. And that concludes
it? Oh my god. It's like I always say, 160 goes by in a flash. Didn't even notice that 20 minutes had gone by. Oh, the Q&A is gonna be soul-crushing. It's gonna humble me even more than the other
Hello
ones
everyone.
did.
This is going to be some Q&A practice for the 160 class, and we're going to start off with the plaintiff questioning. Okay, ready?
Yeah, flew away.
What is your full name? David Carl Johnson. And what is your present home address? 1408 Broadway, Atlanta, Georgia. What is your telephone number there? 555-7477, area code 404. How long have you lived in Atlanta, Georgia? For the last year. Where did you live prior to that? Here in Macon, did you ever have an occasion to meet a person by the name of Brian Smith? Yes. When did you first have occasion to meet Brian Smith? In 2006. Did you ever negotiate with Brian Smith to go into a business with him? Yes, I did. What type of business was that? The wholesale nursery business. When did that take place? That was in December, the 1st of December 2008. Can you tell me where that discussion took place and what the essence of that discussion was? Well, Brian had told me that he had found through an ad on the internet a greenhouse that he thought would be a good deal, and he would like to go into the business. We sat down and talked about it and figured out how we would do it. What else was discussed at that time, if anything? Well, I don't remember anything about the details that we discussed, but we did look at a nursery greenhouse. Where was that greenhouse? In Augusta. I don't know the exact street address, but it was on Savannah Road. Did you visit the greenhouse? Yes. What did you observe at that time? I observed what looked like a jungle that nobody could get through at the time. It was completely overgrown. Who was with you at that time? Brian. Did you speak with anybody at that time at the greenhouse? Well, not the first day we went to look at it, but the next day we did. Whom did you speak with then? A Mr. Nelson. Did you have any discussion with Mr. Nelson at that time? Yes, we talked to him. We wanted to find out more about the business and to get the records of the business, to find out more about the business and to get the records of the business, to find out if they were making money. What did he say to you at that time, and what did he do? He looked at his records and said that he didn't have the complete accounting records for the business on hand and that at the time he couldn't help us. Did he do any searching at all? How much time did he take to look? We were in his office for a couple of hours while he was on his computer, and then we came back a couple of other times when he was still looking. But at that time, what did he state to you? At that time, he stated to us that he didn't have the records of all of the plants. He didn't even know what he had in inventory at that time. Was anything else said at this meeting where you and Mr. Smith were present with Mr. Nelson about the business? Yes, Mr. Nelson indicated to us that he was willing to sell the business to us real cheap, as he put it. What do you think he meant by that? He said he had a lot of bills to pay that his wife had left him, and he just wanted to get out from under the business. Did he actually give you a selling price? No, he said he would take $25,000 down and we could pay the rest later.
Whoa!
Okay, so switching transcripts.
I did so well on that. I didn't do good, but I did really okay.
The city of San Diego.
San Diego.
And this is going to be a defense attorney questioning.
I don't know how to spell San Diego.
Just everybody? Yes. All right. I think you said you were at the Bay for... Maybe I didn't ask you how long you were assigned to the Bay. When I first came there, I worked at Ocean Park Club for a year, and then the Bay. I think the last 6.5 years, I've been working at that building. So the Bay, 6 to 6.5 years, and then Ocean Park Club for about 1 year. Yeah. And before that, where did you work? At the Qualcomm Stadium. How long did you work at the stadium? Oh, about 2.5 years. What was your position there? Custodian 1. When did you first start working for the city of San Diego? I think it was June of 2006. I think that's when it was. All right, that works out about right. Before you worked for the city, where did you work? I worked at AT&T. I'm sorry. How long did you work for them? I think about 2 years. What was your job there? Groundsman's construction. What is that? It is construction, like laying fiber cables, trenching, and construction. Which AT&T facility were you at? Costa Mesa. And before AT&T, where did you work? Before AT&T was UCSD. How long did you work at UCSD? About 6 months. What did you do there? Clerical, filing, typing, computer. Before UCSD, where did you work? I worked at the unemployment office. I worked at Research Lab off of Sorrento Valley Road. Say that again. Research Lab for the military? Cutting film for the military. But you weren't in the military. No. Where else did you work? UCSD, clerical, AT&T, unemployment office, research lab, and the city, and Benson. What is Benson? It's an elementary school. What did you do there? Just paperwork. Clerical? Yes. Office stuff? Yes. How long did you work for the unemployment office? About a year. What did you do there? Clerical. How long did you work at Research Lab? About 6 months. How long did you work at Benson Elementary School? I don't remember that. It's been a long time ago. Okay, before you worked for the city, did you ever file a workers' compensation claim? No. Or have any type of disability? No. Oh, yes. Yes, I did. No, not before. Not while you were working for the city, before you were working for the city. So prior to 06. Not prior. So you're right. Let's go to your job at the Bay and Nick Carter, okay? Okay. How often did you see Nick Carter? It sounds like you kind of did the same thing. To the extent it's a little vague as to time, but are you asking for the entire time? Years you worked with Mr. Carter, or let's start out at the beginning of the 5 years. How often did you see him? Every day that I worked. When did you see him? When I came in, when I come into work to sign in, he's there in the office. Do you know what his title is? Building supervisor. And how long did it take you to sign in? About a minute, not over a minute. What did you do after you signed in? Left. Then you went off to do your custodian job? Uh-huh. On the average, would you see Nick Carter again during the day or during your shift? If it's working in the day, yeah. How often would you see him on average? Friday or Saturday, I would see him. He would come up there like 2 or 3 times. What would he do when he came up there? He would walk around, come in the office, sit there, grab himself, fumble with himself, sit, scoot his chair back, and fumble with himself. All the time? All the time. With other people there? He did it before when Ian was in there. How many times when Ian was in there? He did it when Ian was in the office once. I remember because there's one desk and there's another desk area. I was sitting at the other desk and Ian was sitting on the table, and Nick came around and sat in that chair and scooted back and fumbled with himself and I just got up and walked out. Okay, you mean... I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just a little vague as to time, as to when this was. Was this the beginning of the 5 years? Towards the end of the 5 years you worked with him? He fumbled with himself all the time. When I first started to, when I left, he always played with himself in front of me. Okay, so for the entire period of 5 years that you worked with Nick Carter, he would play with himself in front of you? Every chance he would get, yes. Continue, counsel.
Okay.
Okay, so that concludes our Q&A practice for the 160 class. Have a great day.
I'm a little shocked, a little stunned by what I just heard. I don't like that I heard that. I feel bad for the original court reporter who had to sit there and take that down.
Hello everyone, this is going to be a 160 Q&A test. Plaintiff attorney is Mr. Galloway, capital Galloway. Defense attorney is Mr. Sherman, capital Sherman. Again, plaintiff attorney Mr. Galloway, capital Galloway. Defense attorneys Mr. Sherman, capital Sherman. And this is going to start with plaintiff attorney.
Hey, better not be the same thing as last time.
Then what happened next? He went to the opposite side of the truck. I pulled in, putting the forks through the 2 pallets. He told me when they were through, and he said they are good or something to that effect. And I said, okay, and I raised the forks. I guess you want me to go ahead and explain what I did, or do you want me to stop? Let me stop you for a second. Let me just use this for visual help here. I am going to show you another photograph, and we will mark this as Exhibit 2 to the deposition. Do you recognize what that photograph depicts? Do I recognize it? Yes, I do. All right, does that appear to be taken the day of the accident? And is that the photograph of the actual truck that you were unloading? Yes, it is. All right, and are you actually in that particular photograph? Yes, I am. Okay, and could you please point out which one is you in the photograph? I am the guy standing above the injured man. Okay, you are fairly close to the trailer? Yes, I am. That is me. It looks like you are wearing a blue shirt and jeans and boots. Is that right? Yes, I am. All right, and the person that is lying on the ground right in front of you, was that the driver of the truck? Yes, it was. And this photograph was taken shortly after.
Hi, Patrick. That's okay. Stay as long as you can, and leave whenever you need to. That's fine.
In front of you, was that the driver of the truck? Yes, it was. And this photograph was taken shortly after the incident had occurred? Yes, it was. And the material or the pallets we see directly to the left of the driver, are those the same pallets that were depicted in Exhibit 1 that you looked at? Yes, they are. And were those pallets moved in any way prior to the photograph being taken? I don't believe so, no. All right, if you could look at the photograph, do you see where on the trailer these pallets were located when you were unloading them? Yes, I can see that. All right, and could you point that out for me? They are right behind this pallet right here. They were up against these other ones. Okay, would you just take a pen and put a P for pallets? Put a P? Sure, they were right there. And you can't recall, I take it, when you first pulled up that there may have been more pallets that you unloaded. You just can't remember. Is that true? Yes, that is true. All right, the ones that you were unloading when the incident occurred, though, they were up next to and against this set of yellow material. That is correct, yes. Okay, well, I'm just looking at where you placed the P. I need to clarify something here. Were the pallets that you were unloading, were they touching the yellow pallets, or was there a space between the pallets? Well, they were very close. I mean, they were up behind them or right behind them. All right, and the pallets that you were picking up with your forklift and that are shown over in Exhibit 1 after the accident, were those side by side on the trailer? In other words, if you were looking at the trailer, you would just see a pallet where you place the P and another one immediately as we are looking at the photograph. It would be right behind it. So it would be behind it? Yes, that is right. All right, and what you're saying is because of the positioning of the pallets, you could take your forks as you are operating the forklift and put the forks under both pallets. Is that correct? That is correct. All right. How far was the pallet closest to you, positioned on the trailer, away from the edge of the trailer? In other words, if you are standing right up next to the trailer, what was the distance between the edge of the trailer and the edge of the first pallet? I am going to say about 6 inches. So these two pallets were not positioned in the center of the trailer? I really don't know. I mean, I wasn't on the other side of it. I never got up on the actual trailer. I am going to say I don't know because I was on the side of them. They were probably not quite to the center. Do you have an estimate as to how wide the trailer bed was? I am not really familiar with that thought. Maybe it was 8 feet, but that is a guess. We don't want you to guess. You don't want a guess. Okay. But you did say that the trailer was there. We can see that in the photograph. We can see that you were there. And if you remember looking at the trailer bed and you have an estimate as to how wide it is, I want your best estimate, but I don't want you to guess. I'm sorry, but I don't know. All right, that's fair. Now, in looking at the photograph, it appears towards the front of the trailer, there is a consistent load of some type of material. It looks like it's maybe some bags of cement or rocks, I believe, is what the driver said. Do you see what I am talking about there? Yes, I do. I can see that. Okay, the pallets that the material is on. Do you see those pallets? Yes, I do. Okay, would you say those are fairly standard sized pallets? Yes, they are. Okay, and looking at the photograph, can you estimate what the dimensions of those pallets are? I know what a normal pallet is, or a normal sized pallet. What is a normal pallet? Well, approximately anyway. I am going to say about 40 inches wide by maybe 48 inches long. And when you are looking at this pallet that is on the truck, would the length be going across the actual trailer? No, it would not. Okay, so the length of these pallets, these are not square pallets then normally? No, they are not. Okay, all right. Prior to pulling in and putting your forks under the two pallets that you were offloading at the time of the accident, did you have to reposition the forks because the pallets were smaller? Yes, I had to bring them closer together. Okay, and did you do that yourself? Yes, I did. How close did you move the forks together in order to pick up these two pallets? Do you want inches? If they were separated, I want to know what the gap that was between the two forks. I'm going to estimate about 8 inches.
I could have done a lot worse on that. Reminder that there is a survey you can take. You can control what the next game I stream is. It's just exclamation point survey. Okay, I finished that. Feeling a little tired after that. Really takes it out of me, the 160. Okay, move on to 140 now.
Welcome to drill practice. Let's get started with some names and phone numbers.
Names and phone numbers. Okay.
Here we go. Nativa P. Wood 717-580-4354. Christine J. Willette 715-355-4384. Sue A. Terry 937-604-5173. Deborah A. Dibble 801-631-9435. Carrie A. Anderson 770-952-0604. Christine M. Anderson 913-424-9721. Anne Bowline 307-235-3376. R. Max Curry Jr. 615-479-4864. Rick E. Levy 800-939-0093. Linda K. McSwain 251-753-7344.
Okay. Ad break just started, so let me just sit here and relax. Okay, we're back.
Michael E. Miller, 866-214-3376. Christine Phipps, 954-802-8643. Jennifer Sati, 612-986-8930.
Okay, that's it for that.
All right, now let's practice some words from our 1,000 most frequently used words. Ready? Weather, early, buy, everything, remittance, opportunity, goods, large, open, Saturday, letter, doubt, gone, 5, perhaps, second, prompt, can't, accept, near, do, giving, within, wanted, whole, complete, cold, took, months, play, November, yes, value, later, express, December, sincerely, accept, taking, talk, contract, trouble, records, where, different, connection, indeed, country, supply, promptly, invoice, weeks, recent, offer, things, between, war, half, Friday, ordered, orders, replying, surely, looking, delay, cut, ready, bear, telegram, above, trust, men, certainly, forward, came.
Okay. What's next? 5 minutes left. No, 4 minutes left. Excuse me.
All right, let's just practice some names and their credentials. So for example, CSR, RPR, and we'll also include the city and state.
Okay,
for some
city and
practice,
state.
additional practice.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Desiree Tanner, RPR, Long Beach, California. Kimberly Pruitt, RPR, St. Petersburg, Florida. Alicia Bine, RPR, Waterloo, Iowa. Mark Sanchez, RPR, Post Falls, Idaho. Elisa Rizzo, RPR, Glenview, Illinois. Catherine Bergen, RPR, Jamestown, North Dakota. Christina Sariski, RPR, Rutherford, New Jersey. Jill M. Cutter, RPR, Mason, Ohio. Heidi Masters, RPR, Erie, Pennsylvania. Josie E. Allen, RPR, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Nicole Gottschalk, RPR, Madison, Wisconsin. Angela Mapp, RPR, CRR, CRC, CPE, Los Angeles, California. Diane Miller, RMR, CRR, CRC, Stuart, Florida. Lynn Ann Nicely, RMR, CRR, CRC, Tampa, Florida.
Tampa!
Jean Rohr, RPR, CRR, CRC, Winter Park, Florida. Elizabeth Cohn, RMR, CRR, CRC, Smyrna, Georgia. Jennifer Dunn, RMR, CRR, CRC, CLVS, Chicago, Illinois. All right.
Is that it? Yes, it is. Moving on to the jury charge and literary. Let me stretch my wrists a little bit.
Welcome to literary and jury charge practice. Ready? This will more than cover these checks, which total $337. Please deposit the difference in my account. As you know, Mr. Roger Thompson and I formed a partnership and organized a retail store for electric appliance at 1156 East 52nd Street in Trenton. Even though we combined our financial resources in this venture, my partner and I found ourselves short of money during the stages organizing of our business. Both my partner and I realized that the return of checks because of insufficient funds could damage our credit rating. As a result of the severe winter we have just been through, you may now have to make some badly needed repairs on your home. You should protect your home investment by taking care of this work immediately. Perhaps you contemplate doing something to improve your home, painting, roofing, and redecorating, to mention a few. You probably wish to plan these jobs without further delay before the summer's rush sets in. If you need $300, $500, or even more for repairs or remodeling, our loan department, which is always ready to serve you, will be glad to make arrangements for a loan. Our banking hours are from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. When you obtain checks from our bank in the near future, you will see a series of strange-looking numbers and circular symbols printed on the bottom of each check. These markings represent codes for your account number and bank's number. The code is printed in a magnetic ink. What is the purpose of this? The magnetic code is a common mark to protect checks. This is a big step toward applying a fully automated check handling system. These coded checks will be available in various sizes and forms, and you can obtain them in any quantity you wish. If you have any questions, just call Mr. Lane or visit either one of our offices. Mr. R.B. Miller, about whom you inquired in your letter of March 2002, moved away from our city a few weeks ago. When Mr. Miller was with us, he handled his account properly, although the balances in his account were rather modest. Our records show that Mr. Miller was employed with a local merchandising firm. Circumstances within that company, however, necessitated a transfer of several departments to their main plant in Wilmington, and Mr. Miller was let go.
Okay. I dropped a lot of words. Dropped a lot of words.
All right, let's read a little more from our Democratic National Convention article. Ready? 2012, Charlotte, Time Warner Cable Arena, now Spectrum Center, Barack Obama, Joe Biden. This was the first time we provided CART for caucuses. We reported the Congressional Black Caucus and Women's Caucus, among others. Our captions appeared on televisions through the halls and at the end of the aisles of delegate seats. The internet operated everywhere, and smartphones didn't ever fail. Two support staff did the job. It took maybe a day to get the encoders hooked up. We finally had the process working smoothly. The Foo Fighters were the headliner on nomination night. They shared our office space. That's as close to any celebrities as we ever got. The small city of Charlotte handled security well, but they closed down the entire city. The South in August produced a fantastic thunderstorm one day while we waited in the security line. We didn't have umbrellas and were drenched to the bone by the time we got out. Our feet were tired. We left Charlotte proclaiming we were officially retired unless a woman was nominated. All right, let's get back to some jury charge practice. Ready? A parolee can be returned to prison to finish out the original sentence. A state governor or the President of the United States can alter a convict's clemency when there is clearly an injustice. The governor or the president can give clemency in any case, but in reality, clemency is rarely guaranteed. Clemency usually means a pardon or commutation.
Okay, I need to know how to write clemency, because it's coming up a lot. Clements, okay.
Clemency in any case, but in reality, clemency is rarely guaranteed. Clemency usually means a pardon or commutation of sentence or a reprieve. A pardon ends his or her punishment and erases the conviction from the person's record. A plea of no contest has the same general effect as pleading guilty. A famous public official once entered the plea of nolo contundere. At the arraignment, the judge will also inform you of some rights, including the right to have an attorney and to have one appointed for you. The judge will also set the amount of bail. If bail was set earlier, but you feel it is too high, you can ask the judge to reduce it at this time or to release you on your own recognizance. A person must be arraigned soon after. How soon depends on where and when the person was arrested. In any event, a person must be arraigned promptly, usually no more than 48 or 72 hours after his or her arrest, if the person is not released on bail. If the person pleads guilty at his or her arraignment, the judge may impose sentence at that time. Otherwise, the judge will set a date for sentencing and send his or her file to the probation department. From there, a probation officer will review the case, the person's criminal record, and the person's current situation, and make a recommendation to the judge regarding appropriate punishment. The person may be asked to post bail. Bail is the money he or she posts with the court.
Okay. Clemency.
All right, a little literary practice.
Literary
Ready?
practice.
We urge you to consider adding to your own and your family's personal security by buying United States savings bonds, one of the safest investments you can make. The Stanford Trust Company, the First National Bank of Westport, and the National Bank of Norwalk have combined their resources, facilities, and experience under a new name, the Fairfield Trust Company. Many advantages will be yours as a result of this merger. The merger creates a banking organization that is better able in every way to serve the community. You will enjoy the same services, Mr. Green, but these services will be greatly expanded with resources of more than $110 million. The Fairfield Trust Company will play an increasingly important part in promoting Fairfield's economic progress. There are 14 branches of the Fairfield Trust Company in the county. The branch that you will use is located at 1461 Railroad Avenue, Stanford. As a depositor of the former Stanford Trust Company, you will be glad to know that the friendly character of that organization has not changed because of the merger. You will recognize all the employees who have taken care of your needs in the past. Next week, the National States Bank Paris branch moves to new enlarged quarters in the heart of the business district. In its new quarters, it will be able to provide our customers with additional comfort and convenience as they transact their business. For the past 40 years, except for the interruption caused by the war, our organization has had an office in Paris. To many Americans who have been to Europe, it has been a familiar place. Our Paris branch offers to commercial travelers and tourists the combination of worldwide banking facilities and friendly service that makes our overseas service unique.
Is that supposed to be commercial? Okay. The issue was I used an E instead of a U.
All right, let's get back to our Democratic National Convention adventures. Ready? (2016) Philadelphia, Wells Fargo Center, Pennsylvania Convention Center, Hillary Clinton, Tim Kaine. Retirement didn't last long. How could we refuse this chance to see history in the making? A woman was going to be nominated. This convention was different in every way. Once the convention got underway, we only had one support staff, and it was his first convention. That is how easy things became. Teleprompter feed, check. Audio sync, finally. Encoder setup. 10 minutes to test, and we were ready. We had gotten to the point where we took 1-hour turns. Another first for us was lodging in a delegate hotel, a great experience that allowed us to see the delegate process behind the scenes. Philly was recorded as the most accessible convention to date. The Sanders and Clinton camps had to see eye to eye, and eventually they did. The Rules Committee meeting, normally 30 minutes long, lasted a few hours. The Credentials Committee began at 9 a.m. and ran until 9 p.m. It was reported by only one reporter. She went in calm and cool and came out slightly frazzled. This was the first convention with Uber. They set up an air-conditioned tent with the confines of the 2-mile-long security perimeter. We thought it would be great to avoid the long walk out of the security area each night. After learning there was a 2-hour wait for an Uber, along with surge pricing, we decided to hoof it outside the security perimeter to catch a cab each night. This was the first convention in which nearly 100% of the caucus meetings had CART via projected screen. The caucus meetings were held a rather long distance from the convention site, with tight timelines between the end of caucus meetings and the gaveling in of the convention. This precluded the captioners from also being the CART providers, so CART providers from 3 separate states were brought in to cover caucus meetings. Convention captioning is not for the faint of heart. We were two exhilarated, energized, occasionally awestruck reporters working in tandem to produce a product everybody used every day. We didn't always get along during a week's worth of stressful moments. Like a longtime married couple, we had it out and got back on task quickly. No apology necessary. While we proclaimed retirement again this year, we saw an email that said, "See you in 2020." So our job may not be up for grabs yet.
Okay, convention.
That sounds definitely like quite the adventure. That article was written by Susan Simonelli, Ciminelli, and she is an RPR, a freelancer based in Alexandria, Virginia.
Oh, I need to clean my glasses. Okay. Got 4 minutes left. Then we move on to the Q&A. My hands are starting to get really tired. But I need more stamina than this if I'm going to do captioning.
What else do we have here? All right, this is just some legal, I'll call it a legal literary. Ready? Some suits are settled before the complaint is even filed. Some are settled after the complaint is filed, but before the trial begins. Some are settled during the trial. Some are settled after the trial while the case is on appeal to a higher court. Since no matter how strongly justice appears to be on your side, you are always taking a chance if you sue. You might lose the case before a trial begins. Any number of motions may be made by either side. 3 of the more frequent and important pretrial motions are motions for summary judgment, motions for judgment on the pleading, and motions to exclude evidence at the trial. A motion for summary judgment is an attempt by one side to have the case decided by the judge before the trial. The complaint and answer constitute the pleadings. If the plaintiff is entitled to recover damages from the defendant, the attorney would file a motion for judgment on the pleadings. When the attorney is finished presenting all the evidence to prove the case, he or she rests the case in chief. The defendant's attorney now proceeds with the defendant's case in chief and calls witnesses for the defense. Just as the defendant's attorney has the right to cross-examine your witness, the plaintiff's attorney can cross-examine each defense witness. When the defendant's attorney rests the case, the plaintiff's attorney has the opportunity to present additional evidence that contradicts or explains the evidence presented by the defendant's attorney. In other words, the attorney can present a rebuttal. A request for a directed verdict is a request that the judge take the case out of the jury's hands. This request is made when the evidence is such that no reasonable person could dispute the plaintiff's right to recover damages. The judge will grant this motion only if there is no doubt as to how the jury will decide. Now that both sides have rested their cases, each attorney is allowed to make a summation. The summation is also called the closing argument. The plaintiff's attorney gets the last word because the burden of proving the case is on the plaintiff's attorney.
Oh, that's it. Okay, moving on to Q&A now.
Well, welcome to Q&A practice. Let's get started with the plaintiff. Little warm up here. Ready?
A little warm up. Okay.
Do you know Betty Snyder? Yes, I do. How long have you known her? Oh, I would say about 20 years. How did you first meet her? I met her through her sister. Do you ever meet Betty Snyder on a social basis? I have, yes. And do you do this frequently? Quite frequently, yes. What do you mean when you say quite frequently? Oh, from time to time I have been invited to her home for dinner, and from time to time I have reciprocated and taken her and her husband to dinner. I am just not exactly sure how many times that means. Does that mean 5 or 6 times a year, perhaps? Possibly, maybe more. Would it be fair to say that at least 6 times a year you see each other on a social basis? At least. What would be your best approximation? Oh, I wouldn't want to guess. More than a dozen times, though? I just testified that it is possibly 6 or maybe more. Well, it is the maybe more that I am curious about. I don't know how much more that would be. All right, fair enough. You indicated earlier that you heard about her fall. From whom did you hear this? When I arrived at my office, Miss Phillips told me that Betty had brought me a vase with a flower in it. It happened to be Valentine's Day, and she had also brought one to Miss Phillips, and she said that she fell down out in front of our office. When did Miss Phillips give you this information? Possibly between the hours of 1 and 2 when I arrived. Would that be on Valentine's Day? The same day, yes. Did you ask Miss Phillips how it happened that she fell? No, I didn't. Did you ever investigate to determine how she fell or what caused her to fall? I asked Mr. Warren if he knew anything about it. What did Mr. Warren say? Mr. Warren said that she had fallen, and I asked Mr. Warren if he had reported this to our insurance company. And had he? He said that he had. Did he report it to the insurance company that same day? He said that he did as soon as he could get to a phone. Did Mr. Warren indicate how or what caused Mrs. Snyder to fall? I never discussed that with him. Did you ask anyone else? I asked Miss Phillips. She said that Betty drove her car home. Did you ask anyone else? I did not. to this day, have you ever asked anyone else how this accident came about? I don't recall that I have, no. So it was your understanding that Mr. Warren had reported this incident to your insurance company on the day of the accident? So he told me. Did you find out that wasn't true? Well, he's one of the vice presidents of the company and assistant manager. I have every reason to believe that he did what he said. Did you ever learn that he had not reported it on the day of the accident? I never did. I never inquired from the insurance company whether he did or he didn't. So that, as far as you know, it was reported on the day of the accident. That's what he told me he did. Did you ever talk with an investigator from the insurance company? I talked with the investigator that called me. Did you speak to him in person, or was it strictly by telephone? Only by telephone.
Okay, I'm getting better at the Q&As. I am getting better.
Alrighty, a little two voice practice there. Now let's get to a little bit from our transcript.
Transcript, okay. Oh no, it's not the EMT. That's 120.
And we'll start with the plaintiff. Ready? And what about Casey? Where was she? Casey was very close by, and she looked over in our direction while he was doing that. Did she say or do anything at that point? No. And did you seize and retain those two items? Yes, I did. Now also, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, on this date, July 2nd, 2008, this was another date when you made two visits? Yes, it was. In the same 12 a.m. to 12 midnight. So the first visit, the one that we just talked about what time of the day or night did that happen? First visit was, I believe, between 3 and 5 p.m. Okay, and then what about the second visit? What time of the day or night was that? We came back later that night, I believe after 10 p.m. The purpose for going back on the same day was we were just trying to get our faces known in this bar and make as many visits as possible. Return, let's talk. On the second visit, Linda still working? Yes, and I'm sorry. Is Linda still working? Well, Linda was. Casey was there before. I'm sorry. That's why I'm sorry. You're right. Who was the bartender working on the second visit? Linda. All right. Linda? Not Casey. Correct. And did you order anything from Linda to drink on this occasion? Yes, a beer. Okay, and Investigator Smither was with you also? Yes. And you were served the beers that you ordered? Yes. Did you, other than Linda, did you recognize any other people inside the premises that were of interest to you that night? Yes. And who did you see? I recognized Ron Diaz, the same Ron from earlier in the day. Yes. And who else? I would have to refer to my report to see if anyone else was there of interest. Okay, why don't I have you go ahead and do that, and I'll just direct you, for the sake of efficiency, to page 7 of your report. Okay. Who else was there? Juan Castillo. So when you first saw them, Ron and Juan, what were they doing? They were talking in the public area of the premises. Yes. Did either of them ever approach you? Yes. Who came over? Ron. Where were you when he approached? Sitting at the fixed bar. And what did you ask of him after he got to your location? I told him basically that I was looking for some more stuff, and he told me to follow him into the restroom. And did you do that? Yes, I did. And did anyone else go with you into the restroom? I believe Juan came into the restroom at some point, and so once you're inside with Ron, now, yes, what does he ask of you, if anything? He was continuing to ask me if I was a cop, and I basically told him that he better never ask me that again. He knows that I'm not. Okay, and what happened next? Basically gave him a $20 bill, and he handed me a small plastic Ziploc bag containing a white powdery substance. And was it in a similar transparent, translucent baggie as before? Yes. So it appeared consistent with before? Yes. And then after that exchange had occurred, where did you go? Or did you leave the restroom then? Yeah, I left the restroom, went back to the fixed bar, and left a short time later. After you got out of the restroom, did you notice whether Linda and Ron had any contact or exchange? Yeah, I believe Linda did speak with Ron. She asked him to take some kind of box, I guess. It had empty beer bottles in it, back to the storage office, and he retrieved a box from her at the fixed bar, took it to the back. The back office, you said? Yes, I'm assuming it's an office. It could have been a kitchen area, not sure. But an area that was not part of the public area? Yes. Do you recall whether or not she asked him to do anything else that involved the back? Yes.
Oh, that's it for that. Moving on to the test, and then I'll be doing the 120.
This will be a 140 Q&A practice test. Plaintiff Attorney Mr. Bridges, capital B-R-I-D-G-E-S. Defense Attorney Ms. M.S. Reyes, capital R-E-Y-E-S. Oops, excuse me. We'll start with the defense attorney. Ready? Okay, so I think I'm understanding you now. Okay, that, and I apologize for going over this. No, I understand totally. Trying to get an understanding since you were there. And for you, it's like a movie playing out frame by frame. But for us, we're trying to understand what you saw. So again, the van was about 6 or 7 car lengths ahead of you and made a stop. The brake lights came on for about a second. The van was positioned to make a left turn at approximately a 45 or more degree angle. And before any left turn could be made, the accident happened? Yes. Let me object as misstates the evidence, just misstatement of her testimony. Did I accurately describe what happened? And I'm not trying to put... It's also compound, by the way. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, just trying to understand the sequence of what happened. Sure you are, because you said it was positioned when it was turning left. She said it was straight west and stopped, and then she suddenly turned left. It all happened in a split second. Let's be fair to the witness. I am, and my client too. It did. It was a split-second thing. Okay, that's fine. So I'm just trying to get an understanding from what you saw, and I understand it was a split second. So the van was 6 to 7 car lengths ahead of you, correct? Uh-huh. Yes, yes. And the van came to a stop, correct? Yes. So far, this has been asked and answered 3 times. Yes, yes. But I think we have some dispute, and I'm really trying to understand. And then the brake lights came on for a second approximately. I think she said about a second. And also stressing 4 or 5 times that this is a nanosecond of all this. Yes. And was the van in the westbound lane when the brake lights came on? Yes. And a nanosecond later it was in the eastbound lane, starting its turn. The van starting its turn? Yes. Starting the turn, but still then stopped. Is that correct? No, wait. Okay, you tell me. All right, let me tell you. The car in front of me stopped for a nanosecond and started to turn. At the same exact time, this motorcycle is out in the eastbound lane, and he hits her before she can even begin to complete her left turn. That's what happened. Okay. Did the impact happen in the eastbound lane? If you know, ma'am. You want to know where the rear end of the car was at the time it was hit? Yes, I would. All right. I would say the car was still very partially in the westbound lane. The rear of the car was still a bit of it. What part of the van did the motorcycle hit? The rear. Okay. Were you able to see the van damage? No. Were you? I'm looking at that thing flying in the air. Okay. Wondering, oh my gosh, it's going to hit me. Okay. So the back of the van is where you say the motorcycle impacted, correct? Yes. Was it the rear bumper, the rear tail light? I would say all of the above. Do you know the specific area where it impacted? Just on the left side. On the left, the driver's side, but on the rear of the car or the left panel. Do you know? I would know. Like I say, this is like, if you don't know, ma'am, seconds. You're free to say you don't know. All right, I don't. Sorry. That's okay. But that rear end of the car where the impact happened, it was just slightly in the westbound lane. Is that your testimony? I believe so. Okay, and so the rest of the van was in the eastbound lane? Yes. Okay. Did the motorcycle that was involved in the accident cross over the double yellow lines to get into the eastbound lane? Well, he would have had to, yeah. Okay. How fast was that motorcycle going when it pulled up alongside you? And crossed over the double yellow lines into the eastbound lane. As fast as he could go. I don't know. Can you give me an estimate? Let me object and move to strike as not responsive. And I think what her question was, if you know, how fast was the motorcyclist going as it was going by your vehicle? As he was passing me, yes, very fast. Do you have any estimate of speed? I would estimate for it. Yes, we are entitled to your best estimate. 60, maybe more, I don't know. Okay, How fast was the motorcycle going? I don't know.
Woo! Okay, I'm moving on to 120. Hit the drill. Class 16. Now we're going to 120 drill.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 120 drill class. We're going to start off with some 120 briefs, and you can find this on the 120 brief sheet online in the class. So we're going to go over, I've got like a chunk of briefs that I'm going to give you, and I'm going to tell you how to write them, and then I'll drill you, okay? So the first one is agree, G-R long E. The second one is agreement, G-R long E-M-T. Then we have alcohol, K-H-O-L. Alcoholic, K-H-O-L, come back for I-K. Article, A-R-L. As a matter of fact, S-M-A-F-T, smaft. And the last one is at or about, A-O-R-B. Okay? So again, if you have trouble with it, feel free to go back in the class and listen to it again. Write them down in your book of maybe words or phrases, briefs that give you a challenge, and then just spend some extra time on those. And I would say after 2 weeks, if you really pursue them persistently and it's not sticking, then just move on and write it out. Okay?
It's difficult.
All right, here we go. Agree, agreement, alcohol, alcoholic, article, as a matter of fact, at or about, agree, agreement, alcohol, alcoholic, article, as a matter of fact, at or about, alcohol, article, agree, as a matter of fact, alcoholic, agreement, at or about. All right, so we'll stop there. I've got some abbreviation derivatives. So this is a brief, and we're adding either a prefix or a suffix to it. Okay, here we go. Furnishing, suggested, acknowledged, orders, advertises, crediting, knowledgeable, satisfactory, advised, purchased, suggesting, furnishes, ordering, furnished, suggests, satisfied, acknowledges, advertising, advisory, businesses, advising, credited, acknowledging, purchases, purchasing, ordered, credits, advertised, satisfies, usually, advertisement, advises, accounting, regularly, correspondent, corresponding. Again, those are briefs that you learned in theory, so if you had a hard time with that or struggled, definitely go back and review your theory briefs. Okay? All right. I've got a number drill for you, and this is reverse mortgage document services and loan origination system. Okay, so these are all on rates for home loans. Here we go. Index rate 5.060%. Initial interest rate 5.080%. Max interest rate 6.010%. Expected interest rate 5%. Credit line growth rate 6.310%. Interest rate change, fixed. Monthly service fee, 0. Estimated home value, $360,000. FHA maximum, $380,000. Loan to value, 71.90%. Principal limit, $258,840. Origination fee, 0. Mortgage insurance, $4,500. Closing costs, $2,595. Lender credit, $4,000. Total estimated fees, $3,095. Servicing fee set aside, 0. Total property liens, $240,000. Repair set aside, 0. First year LESA, 0. Total mandatory obligations, $243,095. Percentage of MO to PL, 93.92%. Plus 10% distribution, yes. Amount of additional distribution, $11,745. First year max distribution, $258,840. Initial draw, $15,745. First year net principal limit, 0.
Okay, be right back. Gotta wait 3 minutes. Oh, I forgot to do the BRB thing. Whoops. It just looked like I was sitting here for no reason. Looking at my phone.
First year line of credit, 0. HECM to HECM cash ratio, 31.921. All right. I have a drill here. This is going to focus on the final TH, which we use the GT. All right, here we go. His false teeth don't fit properly. The path is steep. You must have faith in yourself. Take a bath. His death was a shock. Are you good at math? I would rather use lath and plaster. Bill runs a lathe on the night shift. He took an oath with no hesitation. Father put a Christmas wreath on the door. The wallet was made of genuine leather. The cape was made of feathers. The moth ate a hole in the cloth. They both took the oath to tell the truth. Beth showed a lot of faith. That story of the creation of the earth was a myth. The myth says he sprang forth fully grown at birth. Their mirth made us all laugh. With that girth, a larger size is needed. Take a deep breath before you meet the wrath of your father. The tooth fairy left a quarter. Did you have an upper berth on your trip north? That was the last wisdom tooth in his mouth. I would rather have the I would rather have the booth on the south. Chicken broth is the best remedy. All right, and then don't forget, there is a brief for father. It's FAUR, kind of like mother, MAUR, sister, SAUR, brother, BRAUR, and so on. So I know they use that in there because it's a TH word, but we do have a brief for it if you want to use it. All right, so I've got some sentences, random sentences, okay? All right, here we go. We found the following items in the trunk of the car: a wrench, a hammer, and a saw. The following people will contact you: the sheriff, the doctor, and the lawyer. The wallet belongs to one of the following people: Jimmy, Joe, or James. The flavors they have are strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate. The attorney, Mr. Wright, has homes in Mexico, Europe, and Hawaii. The course selections included French, English, and German. The checks were numbered as follows: 2874, 3011, 3029, and 3156. Several weapons were found on the premises, such as machine guns, rifles, handguns, and grenades. The following words were all heard. Let me say that again. The following words were all we heard: stop, or I'll shoot. We will start a fire as soon as the sun goes down. The material is a combination of cotton, rayon, and nylon. Copies of the notice were sent to Mr. Kramer, Mr. Einman, Mr. Noggles, and Mr. Koval. These are the classes with open enrollment in the fall: Biology 101, Anatomy 105, History 100, and Archaeology 209. All of the following fibers except cotton were used: rayon, nylon, polyester, acrylic, and silk.
Okay, I did badly
Right.
on that.
So, hopefully you used some of your
Hello, Patrick. How are you doing? Reminder that if you use exclamation point survey, you can, there's a survey that I created earlier for games that I'll switch to after I'm done with 100 line. You're doing great? That's awesome.
your comma if you had time, especially with the checks, so that you know when a check number ends and starts again. So,
Combination.
all right. So let's see
you voted
here.
already?
We've already
Thank
gone
you.
over just a little bit. I'm going to just give you one more last drill, and this is going to be a name and spelling drill. These are names and spellings of people who work for different mortgage companies, and they're the top originators in the nation. Okay? Here we go. Diane Thomb, THOMB, Loan Depot. David Thomas, THOMAS, Caliber Home Loans. John Thomas, THOMAS.
You think you voted for another crab's treasure? You could vote for several things, actually. It's a checklist instead of a multiple choice. So I've had a lot of people vote multiple times already. So if you didn't get to vote for more than one thing, you can go back and actually do that. I believe it'll save your responses.
Primary residential mortgage. Matt Tierney, TIERNEY, guaranteed rate. Jeffrey Tisdale, TISDALE, primary residential mortgage. Joe Tishkoff, TISHKOFF, Skyline Home Loans. Pamela Todd, TODD, Megastar Financial. All right, and that concludes our...
Oh, we're almost done. Almost done with practice for today. I'm gonna feel so relieved. I don't know why the material is sometimes so difficult with the 120. I slow down immensely, even though I should be faster than that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the literary and jury charge of the 120 class. We're going to start out with some jury charge. The subject is arson.
Arson?
Here we go.
I'm
Ready?
so happy saying that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the plaintiff in this case is charged by the defendant with having committed a criminal act, the act of arson. In a case of this kind, the presumption of innocence exists, and the improbability that one will commit a crime is an element here involved, which should be considered by you with all the other evidence in the case. After viewing the whole case with such carefulness as the gravity of the subject demands, the issue should be determined in accordance with the preponderance of the proof. A fraud is never presumed and must be proved. If the fire was seen to break out in 2 or more places at about the same time at points distant from each other, it is for you to say whether or not those fires were started by human agency or whether it was accident or misfortune that started them. That is a question of fact for you to determine. The principal question in this case is whether or not the fire originated by any act, design, or procurement on the part of the plaintiff or through any act done or suffered by his privity or with his consent. In deciding this question, you should take into account every fact and incident connected with the fire and subsequent transactions as detailed in the evidence. However, if you have heard any evidence in this case, which the court afterwards struck out, you are to wholly disregard such evidence in arriving at your verdict. In giving these instructions, it is the intention of the court simply to instruct the jury as to the law applicable to the case, but it is not the intention of the court in the least degree to give the jury any opinion as to whether or not the defendant is guilty of the offense charged in the indictment, or to express any opinion as to the weight or sufficiency of the testimony, or as to the credibility of any witness. Right. I've got some food descriptions.
Food descriptions. That's weird.
This is on budget eateries. Ready? Our annual selection for great fare at bargain prices. Dr. Grubbs, 353 West Bonita Avenue, Claremont, 909-621-6200. College kids tend to consume plenty of greasy, deep-fried fast food, but Claremont Village's Dr. Grubbs offers some healthful options for cash-strapped students or anybody on a budget. The versatile multicultural menu provides various fire-grilled proteins customized with a choice of side dishes and nearly a dozen sauces. Grilled salmon at $7.49 pairs well with creamy dill yogurt or peanut sauces and a side of light as air Moroccan couscous. Shrimp at $6.49 or chicken at $5.49, both blackened but mild. Work well with a Caribbean-inspired sweet and spicy mango vinaigrette and honey mustard sauce, respectively. Grilled cheese dippers, essentially mini slices of nostalgic grilled cheese sandwiches served with a thick tomato basil soup for dipping, are great to share. Despite a lot of takeout traffic, the dining room, clad in reclaimed wood and stainless steel, is comfortable and attractive. All right.
Okay, that was weird for description. I didn't do very well on that.
This next section is on legal terms, and then I've got a paragraph for you.
Paragraph.
So here are your legal terms. Ready? Trustee, referee, creditors. Bankruptcy, I like to write that as B-R-U-P.
Bankruptcy. I keep forgetting that one. It doesn't come up a lot. It comes up more than you think.
B-T-S. That's how I read it. B-R-U-P-T-S. Bankrupt. Again, I squeeze that. B-R-U-P-T. Brupt.
Tickled off Patrick just redeemed yeehaw.
Thanks for redeeming yeehaw.
Bankrupt. Again, I squeeze that. B-R-U-P-T. Brupt. Receiver. Solvent. Initiated. Federal. Officer. Disposition. Voluntary. I write that as V-O. Voluntary. Debts. Insolvent. Involuntary. All right, here we go. A person who is unable to pay his debts is called a bankrupt. Federal courts have been established to handle bankruptcy cases. A voluntary bankruptcy proceeding is
Oh my god, I keep forgetting bankruptcy and bankrupt. Oof. Bankruptcy. Is it that? Yes. And this one's bankrupt. Bankruptcy, bankrupt. Bankruptcy. Yeah. P-W-R-A-E-P-S. In other words, B-R-Y-P-S. Okay, let me try that again.
called to involuntary. All right, here we go. A person who is unable to pay his debts is called a bankrupt. Federal courts have been established to handle bankruptcy cases. A voluntary bankruptcy proceeding is initiated by the bankrupt party. When the creditors of the bankrupt party start the bankruptcy proceedings, it is called involuntary bankruptcy. A court officer in charge of the bankruptcy proceedings is the referee. A receiver follows the orders of the court when disposition of property is necessary. A party is solvent when he can pay his debts, and insolvent when he cannot pay his debts. A trustee holds the bankrupt's property for the creditor's benefit.
Okay, well, still gotta think about bankrupt again after that. I'm gonna forget.
Right. I've got some fascinating facts for you.
Fascinating facts. Okay, we're gonna learn something.
This is from my book, 2200 Fascinating Facts. I like it because it has just small little sections. So if I read the whole topic, which this topic is on facts about the Bible, then it skips from one topic to another. So it's kind of nice for practice because it makes you focus on what's being said and not really following a pattern. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Ready? The American Bible Association has published almost 1 billion Bibles since it was founded in 1816. The Lord's Prayer appears twice in the Bible, in Matthew 6 and Luke 11. 2 chapters in the Bible, 2 Kings 19, and Isaiah 37 are alike almost word for word. The shortest verse in the Bible consists of 2 words. Jesus wept in John 11:35. The King James Version of the Bible has 50 authors, 66 books, 1,189 chapters, and 31,173 verses. In the history of printing, several early English Bibles are famous not so much for their workmanship or their beauty as for their textual idiosyncrasies. A few famous examples, much sought after by rare Bible collectors, are the Breeches Bible, 1560, so named because it states that Adam and Eve sewed fig tree leaves together and made themselves breeches. The Bug Bible, 1551, so named because of an incorrect translation of a line in the 91st Psalm. The line, "Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night," reads, "Thou shalt not be afraid of any buggies by night." The Treacle Bible, 1568, so named because it uses the word treacle for balm in the line, "Is there no balm in Gilead?" And then I meant to say for the Breeches Bible, I think I said breeches, but I meant breeches. So, correction on that. The Breeches Bible.
Rich's Bible.
All right, just some fun facts there from my book. I've got
Congressional
some
record.
congressional record. All right. Here we go. Mr. Speaker, my first piece of legislation was a proposed amendment to the Constitution to require a balanced federal budget. Obviously, this is in keeping with the voter priorities reflected not only in my district, but across the country. My bill was one of several that was introduced during the 98th Congress, which reflected a sense of national priorities. Now, as we are entering the 99th Congress, I sense an even stronger national mandate to limit the spending of the federal government and require more diligent adherence to fiscal responsibility by our national legislators. Today, I am introducing a proposed constitutional amendment to require a balanced federal budget and to assure that the budget will be balanced by putting a lid on federal spending, not by increasing the tax burden of the American people. My resolution would require the gradual elimination of deficit spending within 30 months of ratification. My resolution would prohibit federal expenditures from exceeding revenues in subsequent years. As critical as the need to reduce excessive government spending and eliminate a deficit from 3 years ago, it is even more critical today. We are confronted with double-digit inflation and record high interest rates that are crippling the economy. The majority of Congress has professed support for a balanced budget. 35 states have already approved measures that call for a constitutional convention to draft a constitutional amendment to balance the federal budget. The people have demanded action, and this Congress can respond to their pleas. Our elected officials must exercise fiscal responsibility. I urge my colleagues to channel their energy and attention toward this goal in the opening days of the 99th Congress.
That person is real dedicated to trying to balance the budget. Trying to pass a constitutional amendment.
We're going to cover some Latin and French words.
Latin
So
and
I
French.
will give you the words and then we will go through the paragraph. Okay.
Okay, we're doing more Latin and French. Okay, what is it?
All right. Here we go.
Come on.
Ready? We've got animus furondi, de novo, pandetta lita, or it's also pronounced pandetta lite, sotto voce,
Okay, first.
pandetta lita, or it's also pronounced pandetta lite, sotto voce. And then the last one, there's actually 3 different ways to say the last one. We've got viva voce. You can say viva voce or viva voce. So I looked it up.
Okay, let me look all this up. I'll look them up. Animus Furondi. There. F-U-R-A-N-D-I. It's not in the dictionary, so I gotta add it in. Gotta add it. Okay, I got that one. Then we have de novo. Candetta lite. I need her to say it again.
The last one, there's de novo, pandetta lita, or it's also pronounced pandetta lite.
Candetta. I'm not finding it. Oh, you want to share a fact you learned today? Yeah, go ahead and share it. I'm over here just trying to look up this word.
Sotto voce.
Sotto voce. Oh, okay. Sotto voce. Under the voice. It's Italian. Filtered water tastes like TV static. It kind of does, yeah. I'm not a fan of filter water. It tastes weird to me. Okay, this is Sato Bochi. This is gonna mess me up. It's gonna mess me up. Sato Bochi. I'll do it like that. And the last one is Viva Voce. Voce. That oh, that's gonna mess me up. In the dictionary, it's not the way that she's pronouncing it at all. I can't tell which one is the correct pronunciation. Let me see on Google.
Viva voce.
Okay, well, it seems my dictionary's wrong, so I should probably add them in this way. Viva vote. Okay. Okay, sotto voce. Okay, I added them. Viva voce. How about I do it like this? Viva voce. Okay, and now sotto voce.
And then the last one, there's actually 3 different ways to say the last one. We've got viva voce. You can say viva voce or viva voce. So I looked it up. There's 3 different ways that you can say that. Okay? All right, here we go. Ready? Anna.
Tickled off Patrick just redeemed Pat My Head.
Thanks for redeeming Pat My Head.
Different ways that you can say that. Okay? All right, here we go. Ready? Animus furandi means with the intent to steal. The goal of animus furandi is to permanently deprive an owner of his property. De novo means anew or fresh. De novo usually refers to trial de novo. Another term for pending litigation is pende lite. Pendenti lite means during the pendency of the lawsuit.
During the pendency of the lawsuit. It's least pendants.
Pende, or excuse me, pendenti lite.
What?
Pende, or excuse me, pendenti lite.
What is she saying? Okay, I see it now. Pendente lite. Pendente. Right there. Pendente lite.
Term for pending litigation is pende lite. Pende, or excuse me, pendenti lite means during the pendency of the lawsuit. Alimony, pendente lite, is temporary alimony that is court ordered during the pendency of a divorce action. Voce means voice. Sotto voce means in a soft voice, so as not to be overheard. The term viva voce examination is very similar to oral examination.
Okay, that was a whole mess.
I've got an article here on funny about mom and me, but I forget. Here we go.
Article on what?
It's official. I've become my mother. I came to the startling conclusion that a metamorphosis had occurred when I realized I could not remember a single piece of juicy gossip, hot tip, or innuendo. I could not recall in what city I had heard it or whom I was with when the bombshell dropped. For weeks now, my conversations have gone like this. I just heard something about him. What was it? I think it was horrible. Or was it? Maybe it was his brother. And I have been misplacing things, such as the car. I know I parked in this lot. I'm sure I did, I say in a panic. It has been an awful transition for someone who was once known as the human computer. My boyfriend did not have a chance. Come on, Lynn. I've only been late 4 times. You've been late 17 times, beginning on March 12. Would you like the other dates? My childhood was a series of bewildering conversations with my mother. Kids, I want you to take the clothes out of the dryer, and she would say, and then she'd trail off. And then what? We asked. What was I talking about? She would ask. She would misplace the deed to the house and life insurance policies and report cards that had to be signed and returned to the teachers the next morning. A blank look would cross over her face, and then a feeling of distress when someone would ask for the items. She would sit down and pray to Saint Anthony, the patron saint of lost articles. I am sure his time was so occupied with my mother that not a single other Catholic ever got his or her request through. My mother would find the credit card she was looking for in a metal container in the hall closet, along with the car keys that had disappeared 2 years ago. I told you if you gave me enough time, I'd find it, she would triumphantly say. But she knew her victory was short-lived, and it would be only a matter of days before she would forget what night she played bunco, or which of the kids was staying overnight with friends. My mind, she would say, I'm losing my mind. And she knew the source. It came from her mother's side of the family, which was cursed with a lethal combination of premature aging and longevity. I hope none of you inherit this, she would say, when trying to recall where she had left the baby. If I'm like this when I'm 35, can you see what I'll be like when I'm 70? We kids looked at each other in horror. I figured I had a 1 in 4 chance. My mother's father was wonderfully lucid when he died in his 90s. My father's parents do fine, but here I am, 31, and already forgetting my nephew's birthdays, to go to work in the morning, and that bridge out signs spell danger. I called my mother. Sit down, I told her. You won't believe it. What? She asked. I can't remember, but I know it's something you'll get a kick out of. All right, and that...
Okay. About to do the Q&A.
Hello, welcome to the 100 Q&A practice.
Hi, online.
We're going to start off with
Is that a
defense
song?
questioning. Ready? Now, Stephen, can you recall the exact Q&A practice? We're going to start off with defense questioning. Ready? Now, Stephen, can you recall the exact date that you went into the service? Yes. It was November 17, 2009. What branch of the service did you go into, Stephen? The Air Force. Had you considered other branches of the service, the Navy, the Army, or the Marines? Yes, I had investigated all the branches, but decided on the Air Force because they could give me the kind of training and travel opportunities that I wanted. Now, when you joined, were you considering a 4, 6, or 10-year hitch, or some other length of time? I knew I would be in for 4 years, maybe longer if I liked it. Were you required to attend boot camp? Yes, I was. Where did you attend boot camp? At the base, right outside of San Antonio, Texas. How long were you there for boot camp? About 3 months, but it seemed like forever. At some point in time during this basic training, were you injured while performing some physical exercises? Yes, I was. Please explain to us what happened exactly. I was involved in the obstacle course and field test maneuvers. I was attempting to scale a 10-foot wooden wall when I somehow lost my grip and fell to the ground. How far would you estimate that you fell, sir? About 8 feet. Did you land on your feet? Yes, I did, but my left leg was somewhat twisted. It buckled under me when I landed. I lost my footing and then fell to the ground. Were you able to get up and walk? No. When I tried to walk, the pain was terrible. Did anyone come to your aid? Yes. After about 5 minutes, another boot came over to my assistance. He helped me over to where the drill instructor was standing. Were you then escorted to the base hospital? Yes, the drill instructor told the two of us, or told 2 of the other boots, to help me to the base hospital. What was the nature of your injury? My leg was broken in 3 places, and I had a dislocated shoulder. Were you transferred to Houston at that time? Yes, I was. How long did you remain in Houston? About 3 days while they ran some tests and took more x-rays. What was your physical condition at that time? I was in a lot of pain. My leg was all swollen and my shoulder ached constantly. Were you given any type of drugs to relieve the pain? Yes, I was given codeine and morphine every 3 hours. After your stay in Houston, where were you transferred to? They sent me to the Air Force Hospital near Dallas for further treatment and observation. How did you progress? Not very well. After 2 weeks, I was still in a tremendous amount of pain. I couldn't sleep at night without pain meds. Was a specialist of any kind called in to examine your leg and your shoulder? Not that I know of. What doctors do you recall attending you in Houston? Dr. Barton and Dr. Hawthorne. What doctors do you recall attending to you in Dallas? Just Dr. Gregory. He came by every morning to see if I was doing better, but that was it. When did you first begin to explain or experience loss of sensation in your left lower limb? I first noticed it about 3 weeks after the accident when my foot was always numb. I mentioned this to the nurse who notified the doctor. Did they remove the cast at that time? Yes, they did remove it and began another series of x-rays and tests. Was a specialist called in at that time? Yes, Dr. Winters from Fort Worth. Okay, switching transcripts.
It's an adventure game where your weapons talk because aliens invaded and your weapons are alien.
This transcript is regarding a drug and weapons bust. Okay. And
Sounds interesting.
looks like plaintiff is questioning.
Plaintiff.
The Heckler and Koch MP5, isn't that particular weapon used by the SWAT team? Yes, That is one of the primary weapons used by SWAT teams. I just watched a documentary on that the other night. Great documentary. Is that weapon sold in the United States? Not on the open market. Not legally, you mean? Yes, it is a tactical weapon used by law enforcement as well as the military. Why is it not sold on the open market in the United States? Because it has a selective fire switch, which means that it can be fired in either a semi-automatic or fully automatic mode. Fully automatic weapons are illegal in the United States. Is the Tech 9 legal in the United States? Yes, because it comes from the manufacturer as a semi-automatic weapon. This particular gun, however, had been modified to fire in both the semi-automatic and fully automatic mode.
Okay, manufacturer, I don't know. I was trying to write it. Ah. Okay, I see. I see my
United States? Yes, because it comes from the manufacturer as a semi-automatic weapon. This particular gun, however, had been modified to fire in both the semi-automatic and fully automatic mode. It illegal? Yes. Were both these weapons loaded? Yes. What was troubling, though? No question pending, Your Honor. Sustained. Wait for a question, officer. Sorry. Was there anything about the bullets that were in this gun that caused you concern? Objection, Your Honor, leading. It's foundational, Your Honor. Overruled. You may answer. Yes, when I removed the clip, I noticed that the bullets that were in the gun were nylon tipped. What is the significance of that? Bullets that are jacketed with nylon are made to penetrate body armor. Again, these are specifically designed for law enforcement and military personnel. They are not sold on the open market. A few problem with these things on the street. The gang members nicknamed them cop killers. Okay, now, I'm sorry. There was one thing I forgot to mention that was also of some significance. Go ahead. The MP5 was also equipped with a noise suppressor. What is that? It is more commonly known as a silencer. And how does that work? Well, it suppresses the noise of a round being fired. It significantly reduces the sound when the weapon is fired. Is a noise suppressor silencer legal? No, again, it is for tactical use by law enforcement and other weapons.
What the heck?
Tactical use by law enforcement and other
Okay, this is a problem with the video.
weapons found. Yes, I found a butterfly knife in a drawer next to the bed. What is a butterfly knife? It's a knife handle. A series of hand flicks reveals the knife. Is it legal to own one? No, double-edged knives are illegal to own. I see. Anything else? No. Where did you go from there? We searched all the cabinets in the hallway. Did you look through the cabinets personally? Yes, there were other officers present throughout the entire process, though. I understand. Was anything located in the cabinets in the hallway? Yes. By the way, where were these cabinets located? On the left side of the hall, there were 2 rows of cabinets, one up high, the other down low. Okay, what was recovered from those cabinets? I located a substantial amount of methamphetamine wrapped up in the linens. Was it all packaged together? No, there were 4 large individually wrapped packages.
Okay. Moving on to the test. See you later, Patrick. Ad break will be starting soon. Oh. Right when I have the test.
Hello everyone, this is going to be the one.
I'll just skip the test. I'll do the test off stream. Okay.
Ticked off Patrick just redeemed yeehaw.
Thanks for doing yeehaw. Okay, who am I gonna raid? Dizzy Roll. She's playing Warhammer. Okay. I'll be back tomorrow to play more 100 line. I'll see y'all tomorrow, okay? Bye!